Hey, 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 welcome to Literature Academy, Ask the Expert. You guys, I am so excited about tonight's lesson. Before I even get started, I want to introduce myself. My name is Tamara, and I'm the Literature Academy Manager. So any feedback you have, any questions you have, I'm your lady. I try to get all of your questions answered and get you all set up for success in Literature Academy. So I know we have a lot of new members in here tonight, so as everyone is kind of coming into the room, I want you to introduce yourself. Tell me where you are so far. I see that there was 44 people that were just here, just waiting. They were waiting for tonight's lesson. So come into the room. Let me know where you're from. If you're a new dream builder or if you're an OG, let me know in the comments. And I just want to make sure you guys can hear me and that you guys can see me clearly so that we can get tonight's lesson on and going. Hey, Shalisa from Atlanta. How are you? Caliente Queen from Philly. Philly always loud. They come in like, Philly! We got exclamation marks. Sheila from Texas. Also want to shout out Christine. I received your email today, Christine. You were very excited about tonight's lesson, so I hope you're here. Welcome, welcome. Tasha, OG, okay? All right, we have a couple of people from Texas tonight. Tiffany would be proud. I see some people from Newark, New Jersey in the building tonight. Look at me in the building, in our virtual building. All right, so I see that you guys can hear me. You guys are coming in and telling me where you're from. Once again, my name is Tamara. I'm your host for tonight, so I'm going to lead tonight's conversation. If you are new to Ask the Expert, it's going to be a very fun lesson. We have Danielle. She is our website queen. She gets us all together. She helped Tiffany with her blog and so many other things because she does even more than that. She's like a strategy queen. She's a unicorn. So for those of you who don't know, we call ourselves the Unicorn Squad. Tiffany calls us the Unicorn Squad. We are her team members for Literature Academy and the Budgetista. And tonight we're bringing on one of our own, Danielle. Danielle, say hello so they can see you and make sure you sound good too. We got to see your audio is good.
Hey, everybody. How are y'all doing?
Yep, so we have Danielle. So Unicorn Squad is representing HARD tonight, and we're going to bring you some great information on how to build your guide and how to build your website and how to be strategic about what you're putting on your website, how to plan and develop and redevelop your website if that's where you are in the process. So in this session, we're really going to focus on how to prepare yourself to build or relaunch your website, learn how to organize your website content page by page, and also learn how to pick the right website platform for your needs. So let me introduce Danielle formally. Before launching the Strategy Channel, which is a marketing and design agency, our New York City native climbed the corporate ladder by designing million-dollar marketing strategies for big brands in education and entertainment. After leaving the corporate space, we all kind of like be dipping out when we got a creative mind, don't we? Danielle put her years of agency experience and marketing expertise to help small businesses apply insider corporate strategies for growth. Her current mission is to empower and educate entrepreneurs to make well-informed decisions that help their businesses sell and grow. And that is what we're all about today, Danielle. So,
hey.
So Danielle, if you want to begin, this is, I think, one of the top requested lessons. And for those of you who are new, and if you're inside of the Facebook group, we are in there all the time. Myself, the admin team that kind of focuses on the management of the group. So we're always listening to your comments, listening to where you are in your strategizing when it comes to your business or your financial freedom. And one thing we've been seeing a lot of is a lot of you are in the business process. You're beginning the journey of entrepreneurship and you're getting stuck on what to put on your website, which platform to use for your website. So Danielle, maybe we should start there. How do you even begin the website planning process?
Okay, well, hey everybody, my name is Danielle again. So a lot of times I think when people get ready to start building the website, I think the automatic thing they do is they try to gauge whether they can build it for themselves or not. And then they automatically jump to trying to find somebody to help them to kind of put it all together. Or they try to do some research and try to figure out how to put things together themselves. And when I have an opportunity to kind of work with people on developing their websites, the first place that we start is with a strategy and a plan. Like, what are we trying to do? What do we want out of this website? Why are we using it? Who's going to be monitoring it long term? Who's going to be making the edits? Because all of these things ultimately play into the larger role that your website is going to, or how your website building process is going to go. And too often I find that people are skipping this process and that they're just jumping straight into Wix or into Squarespace or WordPress with having done some research, but not really knowing what they want out of the website. And so they just start building away and typing and getting lost. And then next thing you know it, you look up, it's been like 3 months and you've been working on this website and you have one page done. There's so many different parts to the website and what I think what we think of it to be is just this kind of like virtual space where you can go and grab information. When you're building it, there's so many different parts that kind of go into it. So what I like to do is I like to help people let's start with a plan and think out exactly what we want on the site. How do we want it organized? What do you want to say? Why are we creating this? Because ultimately that will shape and create the space for you to organize yourself and organize your thoughts on this website. So that's usually where I recommend that people start.
And one thing I think that's great is there's a lot of different tools and resources out there that even Pinterest even is a great place to start when you're just trying to get the process going in your mind on who you want to talk to, what message you're trying to translate. So what are some of your favorite tools that you use outside of when you're working with a client? What are some resources you would recommend as a starting point?
I always recommend that, especially when you're first getting started, even if you have like a couple of websites that you like, that you go and you kind of just like do some research, like what are some websites that, kind of appeal to you and why, and try to really figure out what about the website, if you can, is drawing you to it. Why, what features they have, or the way that the information is laid out, or the way that they articulate, their offer, or the types of pictures that they use, or the designs that they use for the pictures. All of these things ultimately kind of shape the direction. So the internet is like my number one source. Pinterest, like you said, is another great source to get some just visual inspiration. People in your industry, those are another place to get some kind of ideas, or industries that are kind of like similar to your industry. That's a really good place to start, because there's so many different ways that you can kind of communicate the things that you want to have specifically on your website. So that's a good place to start. If you're working specifically for your own personal business website, one of the things I always recommend is finding a place to keep yourself organized. So a Dropbox or a Google Drive or some other kind of like folder system that you can go in and create folders to organize the content on your website. That's a huge, huge plus. So the internet for sure, Pinterest, just kind of like surfing the internet for other sites for inspiration and creating some kind of like system for organization. Those are like some of my tops.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, definitely organization, because I know for sure there's a couple of things I'll just drop and save on my desktop, and then Lord knows where they are because I haven't organized them or renamed them. So using Pinterest and Google Drive, like you said, I mean, to me, it's funny because it seems simple, but when you're possibly going through the process of doing it, you forget those simple steps of organizing. So let me ask you this. In the times that, you are bringing a client on board, or say a person who is starting a business wants to hire someone to build their website, what are the, outside of those basics, where are you seeing people get stuck?
I feel like, again, the first place that people get stuck is in the big picture concept. So it's not even just the big picture concept, it's the execution of the big picture concept. Because it's like, oh yeah, I know I want the site, I want it to look like this. But when you think about all the things that actually need to go into it, some people, like, it doesn't occur until like after the fact that you don't actually have all the pieces that you need to make it, to make the website that you want. So it's really important that you try to find ways to just keep yourself and your content organized as best as you can. That you find digital resources across the internet, or well, find digital resources and look for find digital resources and look for other sources of inspiration, basically. Don't just kind of get stuck on just what you see and say that this is the only vision and the only possibility for the website. Like, so when you kind of get, remember that that's the place that you're going to start. Really go in detail and try to outline all the places that you feel that information needs to be. So I would say that the big picture is the first place, and the second place, which is a stem from the big picture, is the details. It's like, I love this about page, but what do you love about it? Oh, I just love the story. Okay, it's time to write our story. Blank, what do I want to say? Well, I love the way that this brand or this person has articulated themselves, but how do I find that for myself? How do I create that sort of detail for myself? I think also people kind of get stuck sometimes in the homepage. That for a lot of people, I think also kind of like when you're first writing, sometimes like that first couple of sentences, you're just like, like, what do I say? It's kind of the same with that homepage, because it's really that first all-encompassing summary view of everything on your website. So, sometimes people feel like it's a good place to start there, which is a daunting thing. That means you basically have to be able to summarize your entire website just from on that one page. So yeah, I would say those are the three big spaces. First, the big picture, and then all the details.
Perfect. And one thing I think that is, really great about what you said is, you're not always going to have everything all together at once. So being able to have the inspiration, it allows you to get started. But like you said a little bit earlier, if you don't get started and just kind of get the website out there and put the information out there, next thing you know, it's 3 months later and you've missed out on so much time. And we all know time is money. So for already created a website, they took the first step, they're already out there. What's the number one thing they need to do to drive traffic to their website?
Make sure that your website is what your audience is looking for. And I think that's probably one of the places that people really struggle with, is understanding that there's a difference between what I want my audience to have and what my audience actually wants. I want people to have my book. That's not the same thing as saying there's a demand for my book, or there's a demand for this type of education or resource. And so a lot of time, I think a lot of people struggle with traffic, not so much because of visibility and other reasons, but I think ultimately because there's not really making that connection between what people actually want and what they're offering. That's usually, like I said, that's probably like the biggest thing that people struggle with. The other thing I would say is visibility. So most often people are not aware of like things that you can do with search engines. So that's SEO, ways of making your website or your features Googleable, or just visible in other platforms. It's not just social media. It's not just email. It's not just ads. There are a plethora of things that you can do to make sure that your site is visible to the people that want to see it and people that need the information most.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for breaking that down. We do have quite a few questions coming in. I'm going to go ahead and get those answered for you guys. So just 1 second while I scroll through. Okay, you just answered that. So anyway, let me know if that answered your question about how to build your website. Caliente Queen, she said, I have a fully loaded website and 0 traffic. What am I not doing to drive traffic? So you talked about SEO. Is that a service that you can, or is that a service that people offer where you can get that by itself, or do you always have to hire like a whole website designer?
So SEO is typically sold separately. I think most of the time when people offer SEO within a website package, it's like very minimal. I think also there's like a misconception that Yoast, the plugin, equals SEO for like WordPress websites, or that your website automatically comes with SEO. Like it'll be popular. The information that will show up on a search engine like Google or Yahoo or Bing, like the information that will show up there is based on what you already have on your website. So if you haven't given it special instructions to make it more visible to the people that really want to see it, then it's just kind of where it is right now. So one of the things I would recommend that you do is take a look to see, well, first, are you properly tracking the traffic to your website? Are you using some kind of tool to actually see how many people are coming? I recommend using multiple tools at some point, sometimes because it's easier to balance and to get a true picture and true sense of what's happening when you have multiple sources kind of providing you with information. But otherwise, make sure that you're actually tracking something. And then beyond that, try to find more about the people that you think or that have been proven to be interested in your product or your service, and try to find ways to kind of integrate yourself more into the spaces that they are, and find out more about what they would need to consider what you're doing. That will help you kind of drive more traffic, or at least the traffic that you want to your website.
Awesome. And I think a lot of some of the websites, they kind of have that built in, but like you said, it's good to kind of have more than one. Are there any certain websites you would recommend, any tracking tools you would recommend?
I think when you're first getting started, most of the template websites that most people start out with have some kind of form in there. I know Google Analytics is a really kind of like advanced, for a lot of people, platform, but it's free and it has a lot of really, really good, useful information. I usually recommend Google Analytics because you can just plug it in. But I think when you're first getting started, it's better to give yourself a chance to really get used to the business and used to what you're doing. And then over time, slowly start to integrate analytics, into your routine. Okay, trying to figure out, okay, what's going on? How's my business doing? How are people responding to my website? Things like that.
Okay, you guys write that down. Google Analytics is pretty advanced, and it's also, you said it's free. So yeah, definitely would love anything in the beginning stages where you're kind of strapped for cash on a tight budget and still can get the information you need to make your website pop and get some extra traffic. All right, we have Tamara. I'm a Tamara, but how can I make my website a hub for my audience without oversaturating them with content? She wants to know, what are some key things to make it easy to navigate where it's not overwhelming?
I think, again, figuring out like what it is that they're most interested in and starting to build a space for that, and not trying to add all the different things in, like the add-ons and the upsells. Like, don't worry about that right away. Like, focus on what it is that they want the most, because that will give you the easiest amount of time. The easiest amount of, I guess, conversions, or you'll see the best results from that type of kind of interaction, because you'll have an opportunity to have observed it over time. So yeah.
Perfect. All right, the questions are still flowing in, so I'm gonna just go all out while Okay, so we have, should we have a blog to go with our website? And if we are selling, I guess sorry, let me read this again. Should we have a blog to go with our website if we're selling products and services? Is that mandatory? Do you think that makes it easier to navigate and more likely for people to revisit the website?
Not necessarily easier to navigate. The blog is really used for a number of things. I think in some places, if you don't want to explain all the content within the interior pages of your website, or even on the home page, you can use the blog to explain further. You can use the blog to kind of like show your expertise. You can use the blog as a way to also kind of attract people that are looking for specific things that are related to your that are kind of related to your industry or the area that you specialize in. It's not because blogs have a lot of SEO value, so they're really rich in attracting the right kind of traffic if your page is optimized to receive it. So I think SEO is just one of the more popular ways to kind of drive traffic organically. Why? Because it's free. And I think it's something that a lot of people don't really take into consideration when they're building. It's something that I know that a lot of people are not aware of. And again, something I would love to reiterate if you're watching and you are looking or have anything to kind of, you're working towards building better traffic or getting better quality traffic to your website, but you don't have a whole lot of money, I would definitely recommend that you start to do some work with SEO, that you start to just kind of learn more about it, learn how to implement it, and learn how to center your blogs around it, because that is a great source of finding people that are specifically interested in what you have on your website. Blogs are not necessary, especially if you're not going to maintain them. If you're going to post every once and again, but not really keep it relevant to whatever's going on in your industry or to your audience, it might be it could never be not beneficial. But if you're not going to use it to your benefit, then there's a lot of kind of like wasted opportunity there. So I do recommend using a blog. It's a great SEO value, but it's definitely not mandatory.
Okay. Yeah, because the blogging is also a lot of work. And I think that when you start a blog, one thing to be mindful of is, how often are you going to be able to update your blog, and if you have the time to do that. So if it's not in your time schedule, if it's going to be a time constraint to do that, it's not needed. To hear that is definitely it makes me feel good for most people that you don't have that pressure. Next question: what is the most economical way to have a website?
The most economical way, one, is to be organized. And I say that because I would say one of the number one things, in addition to helping people build websites, I'm also in the business of helping them retrieve them if they've lost them or they've been hacked or for whatever reason. Sometimes what I'll notice is that some people make commitments to a specific website or a specific level of service, and times are hard from time to time, and then they can't afford to keep it up. And then the company that you bought your domain from, that noticed that you haven't paid your bill to renew it, instead of charging you $35, might charge you $350 because they understand that this domain is important to you. Same with your hosting, making sure that, if you really are going to commit to and you can afford to, buying 6 months or a year at a time, because the month to month, especially when you're concerned about being able to manage the bill, first of all, it ends up being more expensive than having the longer contracts anyway. But outside of that, you run the risk of forgetting to renew and then potentially losing your investment as a whole. So that's a important part to consider. The second thing I would say is outside of keeping track of just being organized with your information, is really just planning it out and trying to find free resources in places when you know that you need more than that. If you know that you really need a photographer, if you give yourself time and space, maybe you can figure some way around that. Maybe you'll give yourself more time to find or to save up money or to find some more free resources. There are a number of things that you can do that wouldn't necessarily require money. But again, the biggest thing is making sure that those bills don't lapse, because if they do, they never really tell you up front that it could cost like 10 times the normal price, but it really does.
Well, don't like that. So yeah, that's definitely something to note. Well, you kind of talked about hosting a little bit. Do you personally recommend one over the other, like GoDaddy, Squarespace, Wix, and so on?
I recommend the one that makes the most sense for you and your business. So, Wix and Weebly sites are really made for people that are just kind of getting started. They don't have a lot of experience with websites or technology, or they don't really have the time or the desire to kind of really delve into like really making customizations. It's great for a lot of things, but it doesn't allow for a lot of like the customizations that you might want. But if you're looking for something kind of just to get started, low cost, that is easy kind of to manage, those are really great places to start. If you're looking for something a little bit more custom, Squarespace is definitely a good place to start, but it's definitely a little bit more advanced than I would say at a Wix or a Weebly site. WordPress, I would say, is on the farther end of that site, while it doesn't um, it's not you have to have hosting to kind of work your WordPress site, but it has the most features than the other, I think amongst the other groups of website platforms, but it requires its own hosting. It requires its own SSL. You've got to have some experience. You've got to be able to know how to manage it. There's a bunch of things that kind of come along with that WordPress responsibility. And I know because there are a lot of people that always ask about e-commerce and Shopify. Shopify is another really great platform if you're just focused on just selling products and just selling individual items, or you're looking for an online store type of thing. You don't need extra hosting with it. It kind of comes as is. But in my opinion, because so many people use it and because there are so many resources out there, if you're looking for something with a little bit more flexibility than a Wix or a Weebly or Squarespace, I would recommend Shopify for e-commerce. If you are advanced, you're willing to kind of like take that long haul, or you're thinking about designing for clients in the future, I would recommend, maybe a WordPress or a Squarespace. But if you're just kind of getting started, Wix, Weebly, it'll do the job.
All right. So you guys have plenty of options. You kind of broke it down into 3 levels there. So it just depends on where you are and what you're comfortable with. I don't know if you can speak to this. Let me see. There was a question about drop shipping platform. Would that fall under like Shopify? Where would drop shipping websites?
Yeah. So Shopify would be, I think it was the more so preferred vendor or platform for drop shipping. Drop shipping more specifically is just when you have when you don't necessarily carry the inventory or the products yourself, but another company has them and they either produce them, they're holding them, or whatever. But they're going to be the ones basically responsible for fulfilling it for you. So in theory, you can actually do drop shipping a number of ways. But I think for the most popular one, especially the ones with all the popular ads kind of going around, Shopify is like the go-to because of some of the integrations. Now, I will say that if you are interested in drop shipping and you are interested in Shopify, specifically for drop shipping, to just continue to watch kind of the trend of where drop shipping is going. It was something that was very, very popular a couple of years ago. And a lot of like I wouldn't say the laws, but some of like the rules kind of governing that space are rapidly changing. So drop shipping in the traditional sense, like some people would send things specifically from other countries or from other parts of the world, that is slowly beginning to kind of like change. I wouldn't say phase out, but it's definitely a changing space. So if you're going to consider something like drop shipping, I would definitely recommend that you do as much research as possible,
Okay, sounds like that's something that's like you need to be on newsletters, getting constant information on because it's constantly changing. Wow.
Oh yeah. I mean, in a good way though. So in a good way though.
Okay, and then I have a question that's kind of similar to what we talked about, where it's kind of like these two platforms coming together. How can I build a website for my business where people can also register to take classes, similar to Literature Academy and like Blackboard? What would you suggest for that?
So it depends on your budget, what you're willing to do, and your kind of experience. So it sounds like you need something with a lot of integrations. So WordPress has a lot of those integrations that I think you need. because it has a lot of personal not personal, but has a lot of company plugins that will integrate directly with your website. So usually my go-to for most websites, especially when a client says, "Hey, I have experience with WordPress before," my go-to is WordPress. But at the same time, I think a lot of the plugins that immediately come to mind that have features that can do that also have just regular HTML codes, which you should be able to input in a Squarespace site or a Wix or a Weebly site as needed. I mean, it's probably like an advanced feature, like it's probably hidden somewhere deep underneath a lot of like the regular information, but you should be able to use coding to make that possible. So what I would recommend is to go and look at some of the platforms that you're interested in using, and see if they allow HTML integrations, and then try to look at the sites that you mentioned, like Blackboard, like other sites that will allow them to have classes. There's a number of them I can think of, and a number of ways you can integrate it, and even just having portions of your menu point to different web addresses. That's another way kind of to do it. But ultimately, if you kind of want to have it all in the same place and not have them pointing all over the place, I would recommend trying to find a website platform that will allow you to have HTML codes, and find a website or a platform that will also allow people to register that has HTML coding as well.
And Charity, just for transparency, because you did mention, something similar to Literature Academy, we use Thinkific, and I manage the Thinkific Literature Academy side, and I'm someone that doesn't know too much about coding or anything like that. And it's that we've been running Literature Academy for almost 3 years now. So to give you an idea of a platform you can look into, Thinkific is one, and Teachable, in addition to the ones that Danielle mentioned today. Let's see. Okay, this is a funny question because I know we've all been here. If you started a website and you're just noticing like, okay, it's time. Tamara wants to know, how do we know when it's time to stop doing it ourselves and say, okay, let me get some help. Let me call somebody.
Okay, so that's a very common question. Like, when it gets to the point when you get to the website and you are struggling with like something like, I can't get this to move over, or I can't get this thing to show, or this drop down doesn't work. At that point, you might need to, even the thing is that a lot of designers or specialists will be able to help you even fix or tweak specific little things. And a lot of people, if you ask them, they offer hourly rates to like go in and just like tweak something for you so that you're not out here struggling trying to put your website together. It's very common for designers to do stuff like that. So I've done it a number of times. So I would recommend that you reach out to someone and ask for help. If it gets to a point where there's something that you've spent hours on and like it just won't quote unquote move, or the picture's not getting big, or the menu's not working, or things like that, then that might be the point where you say, okay, let me go get someone to help. And help doesn't mean, I think a lot of times people are also afraid to ask for help because they automatically assume help means, several $100s or thousands of dollars, to move one little thing over. Not necessarily. A lot of designers have like hourly rates and would be more than willing to, I'm sure, to help you, relieve your frustration.
Oh my gosh. So I'm just laughing because, I can relate because I just reached out to you, Danielle, right? I was just like, you know what? Danielle's in my circle. She's a Unicorn Squad member, and I've been trying to start my website forever. It's time. So I think as soon as you are just asking yourself or saying to yourself, like, man, I'm tired of just waiting or pausing or nothing happening, it's time. And I love that you shared that, because that's how I felt. I felt that if I was asking for help, I failed at this task. I wasn't like an independent or something. No, like you're doing the best you can, and it's time to bring in the experts. So you guys, like, it's okay to reach out for help and have someone assist you with the business and with your website. I'm just kind of going through here. All right, I'm struggling with one picture that does not show on the desktop version, and it shows perfectly on the mobile site, and that made me so. Oh, okay, sorry. She's kind of just reading through. I I guess she was sharing her experience.
Okay.
So beyond that, do you have any recommendations for apps? Like, have you noticed that some of the websites work great and perfect from a mobile standpoint? Or do you think it's important, depending on your business, to kind of start an app process?
You mean a mobile app or like a?
So I guess what I'm asking you is, what's the difference between a mobile version of a website and then having like a mobile app?
Okay, so a mobile version of a website is like typically a regular size website, like a regular desktop size website that's just fed and read a little bit, read, fed, and like shown a little bit differently based on the size of the device that you're using. Now, an app is kind of developed similarly, but they're published differently. They have different rules for publishing. Um, if you've ever tried to publish an app before, you know that some of the fees associated with publishing an app, like you have the same fees, almost the same fees that you would have with publishing a regular website, except with an app you have some like extra fees, like just getting into the marketplace. The actual images and the sizes of the actual the files for the app are like specifically configured for mobile devices. Like there's no like desktop version. And if you've ever tried to access an app from a mobile from a desktop device, it just shows as a kind of like a mobile screen. Same that if you try to, if you type, and I think for most websites, if you type in m dot before like the name of the domain, it'll show you like the mobile version of the website. So there's some clear differences, like the way that it's hosted, like how the information is kind of created, and like the platforms on which they like exist on. Those are two completely different spaces. But like a lot of the process is very similar to building a website, but in a lot of ways it's a little different as well.
Okay, so let's say you have a website already, you have the business and you have your followers and all's going well, but I guess you're taking a new approach or you're just ready to refresh the page. I don't know if you guys noticed, Tiffany has a new blog or a new, I guess, a visual on her blog. It looks amazing. Danielle did her website. What are some of the, I guess, beginning questions for that process? Is it the same as starting a whole new website, or what does the rebranding and relaunching process look like?
It's pretty much the same, because it's a little bit easier when you've already got a website and you've got your brand, because you can pull together a lot of the resources more quickly. Like it doesn't take you nearly as long to figure out, how to describe yourself, or, how to describe your business, or how to articulate your services. You've already been doing that, or you've done it, and it's not really something that you're focused on right now. But let me back up. Can you repeat the question for me again?
Sure, no problem. What are some of the, I guess, the beginning stages, or what should you start looking at for your business when you're ready to rebrand the website? And you were basically saying it's the same process, and it should be a little, more simpler because of the fact that the information is already there.
And so I was gonna say, that's kind of what I was going to. I felt myself going off into a tangent about organizing, the existing information. But what I wanted to basically just get at is that it's the same. You really want to, information aside, you still want to go to the same place and be able to like look at what you've got and what you're offering, how you're articulating your information, what you want to say. Because even though you have an existing website, you may, from your data, you may have other things that you want to focus on. The second time around, like I just mentioned, you may have reports, if you have them, to say that this is what my audience is most interested in. I want to make sure that I build a website or an experience for them on my domain that matches what they've been talking about, what they've been asking for, what they've been listening to, so that I can make sure that I'm serving my community and my audience the best that I can. So you definitely go into like a lot of the same process. The only two main differences, you have a lot of your information, and you might have also some analytics or some data that can help you kind of like outline exactly where you want to take that.
Perfect. So I think we got through the majority of your questions. Caliente Queen, I just answered your question about the platform you use for Literature Academy, which is Thinkific. And the other two are Teachable and Kajabi. Those are some of the popular platforms I've seen out there for learning systems. If you guys have any questions, now is the time to keep those coming in. But of course, as always, for the Dream Builders, we always have something special for you all. So while you guys are bringing in more questions, hey Maria, if you have a question, go ahead and drop that now. We'll get that answered for you. Danielle, can you share your special offer today? What do you have for our Dream Builders?
Okay, so today I am offering my part one course, which is how to build and organize your website. So I know I've talked a lot about organization, but this is a guide and a short course that will basically walk you through every single every single page on your website, how to organize it, what you want to do, how you want to say it, and it gives you an opportunity to really explore your plans before you actually start working on your website, which the secret part is that if you actually can complete all of your workbooks and you have them all ready to go and your information is organized, when it actually takes time for you to build and create your website, it takes significantly less time when it's all organized and kind of laid out for you. So the part one of this is really just kind of me showing you how to organize the information. And in part two, we will be talking about how to actually put that information into a website and have it not take 6 months.
I'm signing up. And then what's the special price you have for the Dream Builders?
So today the price is $39, and that includes over 20 pages of workbooks, 18 lessons total, and a bunch of guides and really, really helpful pieces of information to kind of help you get from just the idea of what you want your new website to look like, some of the concepts, some of the ways and the way that you articulate yourself and the things that you offer to your audience. It helps you get all of them kind of like outlined and lined out. And it also helps you kind of figure out what platform might be best for you and your business or your brand. And there's so much really good information about what you need to shop to order. Well, not what you need to shop. What you need to buy when you go to shop for your website. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people, I get a lot of questions about kind of like, what do I actually need when I'm checking out? Like there's a whole guide in there that will kind of say like, these are the things you should purchase while you're shopping for your website. Here's what you need. Get all your content lined out. And then once you have it all lined out, you can either literally hand it to a designer or hand it to somebody else to make sure that all of your content literally gets communicated exactly how you want.
What? So you basically packaged everything up in a pretty bow for us, part one. So I love that you've broken it down, because for people like me who don't have any experience whatsoever, you just made it very simple to follow. And for $39, guys, that's a steal. So the link is inside of Literature Academy. Just click on that and go ahead and get started. It starts immediately. I do have some more questions pouring in, Danielle. They're like, okay. I don't know, I don't know, light bulbs went off. So let's see.
Let's go.
Let's start with Maria. I know she had a question. She wants to know, she said, I purchased my URL, but was wondering how to connect my URL with sites like Wix, so that, I guess that she's doing a pretty URL. So how do you, I guess, have that happen? How do you execute that?
So that is something that I'm definitely going to cover in part two, because there's so many people I'm sure that's going to have that question. But in short, what I'm going to say right now is what you need to do is you need to contact whoever it is that you purchase your domain from, and you need to tell them that you need to contact the support team and tell them that you're trying to connect it to your Wix site. And they should basically be able to walk you through most of the process. If they need more specific information about what you need, I would say go to your Wix page, open it up, go to the part where it says, how to connect your domain. And when It gives you a bunch of information there. Have that page open when you go to support so that you can give them the information directly and they can direct you. A lot of people I know sometimes feel uncomfortable doing that kind of thing, but it's only 2 little things. If you mess up, you can always switch it back, but just screenshot it or make sure you're on the line with support in case you really need help trying to figure it out. But I definitely recommend trying to get in touch with support and asking specifically for DNS help. That's what you're looking for.
DNS help. So that was David, Nancy, Sarah.
Yes, David, Nancy, Sarah.
Okay. Oh, wow. So I think it's so important that you mentioned like the support, because I think we sleep on the support desk often. So if they all should, all the platforms that we use definitely maximize that support center.
Yes.
And they're technical. They will guide you through. Let's see. Do we have a course that teaches coding in the academy? We do not, Jackie, but I will note that down as a request. Whatever you guys ask, we try to deliver it to you. So it is noted, Jackie, coding for the academy. Katrina, I may have missed it, but I have 3 websites that I want to combine into one. And I guess she wants to know, how do you make the main one the focus? Is that a coding thing or something else?
So if you've already got the 3 websites, one thing you're going to want to do is probably work with a designer or do it yourself, like put up a coming soon page, and then first organize the content. Again, don't do anything until you organize your content. Otherwise, it can take you forever to finish that website. So first organize the content, figure out exactly what you want to say and how you're going to be pulling from 3 different websites to combine it into one. And then once you've got that kind of all lined out, you know exactly what you want to say and how you want to say it, then you want to be able to go in and figure out when those other 2 domains expire, figure out when the main one expires. If it expires soon, you're going to want to renew it right away. The other 2, you can turn the automated renewals off. Then you're going to want to probably just rebuild the site, rebuild your main site to be reflective of all that new content. And if somebody tries to access either one of these 2 sites, just have them point to the new site so that you're not losing any of the traffic either.
Perfect. Look, see, Danielle just got it all, because I sure enough wouldn't know. So I think one thing that's great about our Facebook group, guys, especially if you're newer, Danielle is inside of the Literature Academy Facebook group. So at any time, feel free to ask any questions. Actually, after this lesson, we also have a post that is specifically for this lesson. And if you have any questions after, you can definitely post them there and Danielle will respond. Janique, she wants to know, she said, I want to do a coupon site. Should I do a website or a blog?
Definitely a website. A blog, well,
I think do we need more information?
So I can clarify. So a blog is more so a place where you go to tell your stories. It doesn't have to be that, but it's more so like long form text. So there really wouldn't be a lot of space for the coupons if it's like more so like story form, long form. Like if you go to Tiffany's blog, for example, like all the articles on there, at least in the blog section of it, are like long form. There are a bunch of text, a bunch of really valuable information, just not a whole bunch of just coupons. Now, I would think, depending on how you are organizing your site, it could be beneficial to try to find a specific template that matches that coupon site, because there will be some other features in there that won't require you to duplicate your information a billion times over. Mm-hmm. If you do use a blog site, so like a lot of people say like WordPress equals blog. If you use a WordPress site, there are probably some kind of like plugins or other types of integration that you could use to definitely help you with that as well. There are a lot of options, but what I would definitely say is that you want to kind of find a template or a special plugin for a particular website that gives you that exact feature. Otherwise, you're going to have someone custom code it for you, which you probably don't want to do.
Just saying, you might not want to do that. All right, I have Jovonda. Is the vector file always necessary to purchase when selecting a web design company?
I need a little clarification on that. So the vector file is usually just like the image. Is it necessary to always purchase? I mean, I would always purchase it. I mean, if you pay somebody to give you, I mean, if it's part of the package, that's one thing. Is it necessary to purchase? I sometimes would recommend it. Now, if you don't have anybody to edit it, then maybe not. You know, if there's something on it you specifically need someone to do to it, and you don't, and that's not necessarily within your current skill set, then I wouldn't recommend that, you know, maybe not necessarily getting the file. It really depends on the situation. I definitely need a little more information to like really tell you.
Yep. So Javonda, if you have any additional things you wanted to add on to your question to help her kind of clarify the answer, let me know. Go ahead and drop your comment. But otherwise, it seems like most people are just extremely excited about this course that you're offering for $39. Oh, yeah. $39. Yes. There was a question about when does part 2 launch?
So we haven't scheduled it, but part 2 for actually building websites, the first site is going to be for WordPress. It starts March 9th.
March 9th.
You can register before it because obviously everybody can't be in the class, but there will be recordings if you don't actually make the cut. But yeah, we're going to be start actually like developing live on March 9th, but you would have to have taken part 1 just because you really want to make sure that you have all of your content ready so that we can get in and out.
And then guys, for clarity, the part 1 is available right now. It's available and you can purchase it at any time. So if you don't purchase it today, the link is inside of the Academy underneath this lesson. And then once again, it'll be posted in the Facebook group post that we make. So you're more than welcome to do it at another time. However, one thing I've noticed about our lovely community is when everyone kind of does it at the same time, you guys can ask questions in our group, or you can also ask questions with Danielle. So it's always nice to kind of have other people that are going through it with you. So $39, there's no promo code needed for that. So just click on that link and, you know, get ready to build your website. And also we have Danielle's contact information underneath this lesson too. So we're just giving it all to you guys, giving it all. So thank you so much, Danielle, for just giving us that special offer. Once again, I am taking 2 more questions. So if you guys have anything else, let me know. Sorry, Giovanna just came in. She said, that clarifies my question. I was informed that there was going to be changes down the line. It's best to make sure the company offers the vector files. Yeah. Okay. All right. So Caliente Queen, is this course useful and tailored if you already have a website, or is it for those who don't have a website yet? Because the course sounds amazing.
Well, thank you. It's specifically, again, this course is specifically to help you get organized. This is not, we're not actually building anything in this part, because if we start building before we're organized, it's going to be a hot mess. So we're going to start actually with just organizing the content. So whether you're rebuilding or you're building your first site, it's a really, really useful tool either way to help you figure out exactly what you want to say, where you want to say it, and how you want to organize your information.
And what's great, guys, is like she said, it's the beginning stages. She's walking you through the basics, getting you started, laying the foundation, basically. But Danielle's coming back. Like I said, she's a Unicorn Squad member. So whenever you want her to jump on, even if it's not for Ask the Expert on a Sunday, we can probably squeeze her in on a weekday. So just let us know what you're looking for. And before she does the part 2, you said on March 9th, on actually developing the website, she can come back and kind of do an intro to that, explaining it to you all so you can ask questions before you enroll. So just let us know what you need. I mean, we're just here for whatever it is you guys are looking for. Any more questions before we start to wrap up? I'm just looking into that. And as I'm waiting for those comments to pour in, Danielle, can you just share your contact information verbally?
Yes. So you can email me at Danielle@theStrategyChannel or info@fromstarttosales.com, and it'll be, the information again will be shared and I guess on the post. Or you can follow me on Instagram at the Strategy Channel. That's my agency account.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys know where to find her. There is no excuse. We all should be just shining on our websites, having traffic come in, having sales come in, a little bit of everything. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Once again, If there's any questions that pop up at the last minute, feel free to ask us in the Facebook group, or you have Danielle's contact information. And thank you for joining us tonight. I know it's Grammy night, so a lot of people are tuning into that. So shout out to the people who are focused on their goals and who tuned in tonight. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Danielle. We'll be seeing you again soon. And have a good evening, guys. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.